So welcome to our latest, the September virtual happy hour. And I will ask everybody to put yourselves on mute if you don't mind, just so that we don't have a bunch of background noise. We are recording this, so we'll be able to post it on our blog later. We are very happy to have Rebeca Marquez of Familias on Accion with us. Rachel, are you making fun of me because you know how hard I try? You started laughing. We've been working with Familias for a couple of months now and are super excited to learn more. Carrie, can we go to the next slide? So a little bit of background about Rebeca. This is all coming up on the screen for you to read on your own as well. She has a long history of working in food equity and food justice, and is now the Nutrition and Food Equity Program Manager, I believe, for Familias and Accion. We can go to the next slide. This one has some really exciting, I think this was the slide that talks about, teaching and training judo, which I was just super fascinated by. So maybe we can talk about that after.
Hey, Heather,
Yeah.
will you mind either reading or giving us more time so we can read it?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry, I'm too fast for a reader. I think I was skimming. Helps that I've already read it a couple of times. So I guess I could do this one. She recently started a podcast called, oh no.
Alcance sin límites.
Thank you. I'm going to get better, I swear. It focuses on health equity, economic justice, climate change, and immigration. This is a platform to learn more about her community, as well as to share knowledge, resources, and education by disseminating information that is of vital interest to the Latino community. Rebeca is passionate about working with Latino families and promoting a healthy lifestyle. In her free time, she enjoys training and teaching judo, cooking, dancing, visiting her family in Mexico, and spending time with her dog. All right. So Rebeca, are you off mute?
Yes. Hi, Heather, and hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm really excited to be here today and share more about my work and experience and what we've been doing with the Portland Fruit Tree Project to support Latino families, especially during COVID-19. So we have a small video, and I'm happy to talk more about my judo career and other stuff too.
We'll probably need pictures of your dog at the end of this too.
Okay.
We are an organization that works to promote health and well-being of Latino families in Oregon. We do this through different programs. We have community health workers that help people one-on-one. We have a nutrition and food equity program, and we also have an HIV program that we just started. Things have changed a lot during COVID-19. Instead of doing classes or health education, we've been focusing a lot on access to food. We know that this pandemic has impacted more Latino families disproportionately. The needs continue to be there. I don't feel like the needs have changed. They've only been heightened. There's a lot to be said about people feeling understood and feeling like somebody is listening to them and that they're not alone in this world. Because a lot of times when you're going through any kind of illness, you tend to isolate yourself. You know, they don't have access to healthy foods. They don't have access to affordable housing. They don't have access to transportation, and those things present themselves as stress. So if they were already living paycheck to paycheck and not getting this paycheck, how are they going to provide food at the table? What we call basic necessities, they don't have. You know, they're barely making it. Right now, I think we really need community support, huge allies, advocates for our immigrant Latino families, and just organizations of color, I think, in general, just supporting local businesses and voting for the right representatives that will support our Latino community. Seeing the resiliency and seeing how we look out for each other, that's like one of the biggest strengths that we have as a community, and that really inspired me.
Fantastic. So I do want to say one more to everybody who is on here. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat and we'll intersperse them as we go. Otherwise, we have some questions already kind of set up and just different conversation, but we want this to be a conversation. So do please feel free to chime in. So first off, thank you so much for being here. I know your time is not, it's a concrete resource that you're not just sitting around looking for places to go talk on virtual happy hours. So we really appreciate it. So you just want to start out talking about like, how are you doing? How is your team doing with the fires? How has that kind of changed what you've been doing in an already stressful situation?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the question, Heather. I mean, personally, all of this fire situation is completely new to me. I immigrated here 5 years ago from Mexico, and I've never lived something like this. So, personally, I am a little bit stressed. I'm not gonna lie, and I am in a position of privilege where I can work from home, and I'm in a safe place, but anxiety is something real, and for a lot of our community, like I think a big issue is isolation and not being connected to your community. Like, we are human beings that love to be with others, and so since the pandemic and now with the fires, it's interesting. It's been challenging. As I mentioned in the video, I run a nutrition and food equity program, and before COVID-19, we were focused more on community classes and trainings, training leaders to promote our program. We have a curriculum in Spanish that talks about epigenetics and social determinants of health, and how the environment really impacts our health and our nutrition and our ability to buy food and access healthy foods. So before COVID-19 in 2018, we started this work. Familias and Accion has been an organization supporting Latino health since 1998. So is that right? Yes, I think so. So we've been around, I believe, 20 years, 1999. We've been around 20 years now, and our programs have shifted a lot depending on the needs, on grant opportunities. We are a small organization based in Portland, but my interest has always been nutrition and food equity, and that's where my education comes from in Mexico as well. So when I started working at Familias and Accion, we were really focused on growing this program and promoting it in the state. We did that in 2019. I did a lot of trainings in Spanish to talk about issues that have to do with nutrition, health inequities, access to food, discrimination, public policies, things that need to change in the system to really have equitable resources and equitable healthcare. So it's a huge program, and right now, after during COVID-19, we had to do a lot of changes, and we realized that this pandemic was really impacting our communities. A lot of people, a lot of Latino community members lost their jobs. A lot of people did not have healthcare or did not have an organization supporting them so they could work from home. A lot of people continue to work. Farm workers continue to work. A lot of people continue to work at stores and other locations. So we realized rapidly that this pandemic was impacting Latino families in a disproportionately way. And we realized that people needed food, that they needed food immediately. So the first thing that we did around April was we created a training in Spanish to train leaders to learn more about how they can find food during a pandemic. So during this training in Spanish that we offered to around 120 community leaders in the state in Spanish, we were talking about food pantries, we were talking about SNAP, we were talking about WIC, some other resources that might be beneficial for them and how they can access them, understand them. And really another huge problem or issue is immigration and fear that we have of going to food pantries or applying for SNAP or using any kind of federal money is always a challenge for our community. So a lot of my work right now is figuring out, like, how do I keep my community safe? How do I share resources with them? How do How do we really promote access to healthy foods, and just continue living this pandemic together in one way or another. So that's how it's shifted right now. After creating this webinar, we decided that that wasn't enough work. We're a nonprofit, and we had some funds to do community classes, and we were like, well, we can't do community classes right now because we can't gather in community. So some changes that we did is we created a network in the state of 16 food promotores, who are people in the community that are already trusted members in the community that know people that needed food. So we train them, and we are paying them every month to help people find food, basically. So we do a lot of deliveries of food boxes directly from the Oregon Food Bank, or Sunshine Division, or the city or the state. We get the food to them, and then they give it out to families. So this is a program that is statewide. We have a network of 16 food promotores in 7 different counties. And we've been doing this work since June, and we will continue to do it probably until next year. Hopefully we'll be able to go back to normal and things will get better soon. But we are committed right now to reducing food insecurity in Latino homes, basically, through in different locations in the state. But we definitely have a huge network in Portland, and I think that's where a lot of our partnership with you all has come really in handy, and we've been able to support these families and provide fresh fruit to them, with all the donations that we've been receiving.
Just such a great segue. It's like you had the questions in advance. I don't even know. What makes fresh fruit and vegetables a little bit different or unique in comparison to some of the other things that come from other resources?
Yeah, definitely. So right now we're receiving from Sunshine Division or the Oregon Food Bank food boxes that are kind of prepackaged, and they include milk. They include sometimes like butter, chicken, sometimes some vegetables, but rarely we get fresh fruit. So definitely, I know how important fruit is for our nutrition and for kids, and vitamins and minerals and calories, and it's fresh and it's organic, and so all of those benefits, and the other thing is the price. We know that price of organic fruit is so expensive. So unfortunately, like a lot of times we can't access those foods. We can't buy them. We can't purchase them. So receiving these donations almost on a weekly basis has been a huge impact to our community. We're approximately every week delivering this fruit to at least 45 families. So these are families that are low income. There are families that are going through having a hard time with this pandemic because they either lost their job. Another thing is, like, our community, it's going to be really hard for us to ask for help. So we know that they need it, but they're not going to really ask for it. So that's where we really leverage our work with community health workers and with these food promotores that are already people in the community that are trusted members that know them and that know that they're having a hard time. So I think mostly it's the cost of fruit is really expensive. So if we have a little bit of money to buy food, we're not going to really spend that much in fruit because we need to figure out how we can budget, how we can pay rent. And if we lost our job or we're working less hours, or we don't know really how many hours we're going to have next week because of this pandemic or now the fires. A lot of people can't work outdoors because of their air quality. So obviously this is impacting our economy as well. So having, fresh fruit, organic fruit that we don't usually eat, a lot of people have been like, oh my God, I haven't never seen like a yellow plum. Like people were super excited about yellow plums.
And we had so many.
What's that?
We had so many yellow plums, so I'm so excited there were people who were excited about them.
Yeah. And then we have people calling us like, what can we do with this? How do we make a jam? How do we cook this? How do we eat this? My son really loved this. Like, we've never had it before. So just having that experience of sharing food is just super nurturing and super important to me, to build community. I think for our culture, like building community starts with sharing culture and sharing food.
Yeah, for sure. Have you, this is off our normal list, but I'm curious, have you taken any of your classes online at all for your folk, or is that something that's accessible?
Yeah, so right now we have some trainings that we're offering in Spanish. So we do have a recording of the access to food during a pandemic in Spanish. So that is something that we could definitely share. We're currently working on some videos, some small videos. We're also recognize that this virtual word and virtual education is a challenge for us. A lot of people don't have a computer or don't have access to Zoom or don't know how to use it, or even Google Hangouts, or all of that new exciting world that we're living in. So we're working on some videos that we'll be sharing on Facebook, Instagram, to talk a little bit about education around nutrition, gardening, recipes. We also have a newsletter every quarter that we share in English and Spanish. So that's something that if you are all interested, you can definitely follow all of the materials that we have. And our plan next year is to continue doing classes in person if possible. If not, we'll have to start thinking of a strategy to do them online. So we're working on some videos and some materials right now that we'll have available in the next months.
Oh, and they're popping up in the chat for anyone that wants to check those out. Thank you, Rachel. How do you at the organization talk about your impact, both the food program and the other programs that you do? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. So before COVID, we were measuring the impact of our classes. So knowledge that our community members were learning before, like what knowledge they had before the classes and after the classes. There's some key elements to our classes, like nutrition, access to food, but also something very important is becoming a stronger advocate and learning how to advocate for yourself, for your family, to make change in the system. So our program has a lot of layers. So that's one thing that we've been measuring since 2019, more or less. Right now, we're keeping track of how many families we're serving, our food promotores are serving on a monthly basis. It's really sad, but it's also, I'm happy that we're doing this work, but the need is increasing. The need is increasing a lot. I can share a little bit of numbers. So for example, we've been pretty consistent in the Portland metro area, especially with the fruit that we've been receiving from the Portland Fruit Tree Project. It's been around 45 every week, 45 families that we're serving, but we're, giving them fruit, we're giving them food boxes. We're getting some other resources from the city, like hygiene products, toilet paper, some other things as well, that we just kind of put them all in a big package and give them to families. But for example, in June, when we started this work, we did 332 food box deliveries. And we also have CSA vegetable bags that we've been purchasing from Zenger Farm. So like in June, we did 60 of those. Then in July, it was more than double. Like food boxes was 775. So that's more than double of the amount in June. And we were able to do more CSA bags and started one actually in Hermiston and Boardman and Umatilla County. In August, the latest numbers that I have are 972 food boxes that we've been providing directly to families. So this is in the state, and in our region in Portland metro area. I do know that every Friday we're doing 45 food boxes from our office directly in Northeast Portland. And we also have the fruit that we get donated from you all. So this is something that we're also, sharing with all of our families, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot of produce, so it's been great that we're able to provide a lot of fresh fruit.
Awesome. I mean, that's a ton of work to have to figure out how to do without it being what you were originally planning on for a year. I mean, it's an amazing rallying feat.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the most challenging thing is that we don't have all the answers. Like that's the most hard thing of our work, is that our food promotores, we're paying them for their time, for them to be able to do this. Like they're more than volunteers. Like we're very appreciative of all the volunteers we have, but we also recognize that financially our families can't do this work if they're not getting paid for it, because they need these resources as well. So our food promotores, like they're giving out food every week. But when you're giving out food, you encounter people that need other things. They need assistance with their rent. They need assistance, finding where to get tested for COVID. And then there's all these rumors and about, if you get tested positive, this is going to happen to you. Or this clinic, I heard ICE was there. Or I just recently heard this morning that in some food pantries, like that they were afraid that ICE was going to come and immigration. And, so there's all of these rumors that are going around in the community, and there's a lot of fear right now. So it's really challenging, like we try, as much as we can to offer food, but we also recognize that our capacity is limited because we can't, do a lot of things that people need. So we meet with them monthly, and we're constantly checking in with our food promotores to see like what else do they need? How else can we help them?
We have a question in our chat. That's fun. How do families in need let you know that they need food assistance?
So a lot of the work, has to do with the food promotores. So they already know people that need food. Right now, we are at a point that they're pretty much doing all the hours that we can pay for. However, so their capacity is very limited right now, because they're helping a bunch of families every week. However, if you know a family specifically, we're located in 7 counties in the state. So if you know a family in these counties, and I can put those in the chat box in a second, and you know that they're in need for food, I can share an email of my coordinator, and she can connect them to one of our food promotores. They always say yes. They always say yes. I'm the one trying to recognize their capacity, and I don't want to ask for people to work more than what we're able to pay them for. So, but they will always say yes. So if it's a couple families that that are in huge need right now for food, you can definitely email Alejandra, and I can share the email in a second. And the counties that we're located in, let me see if I can remember them from the top of my head, but they're Multnomah County, Washington, Yamhill, Clackamas, Marion, Polk, Umatilla. I think that's it. I think that's 7. So those are the locations where we're at, but all of this information is also on our website that I can share too. We have a little map of where the promotores are. So if you know a family that lives in those counties, I'm happy to, you can email Alejandra directly, and she can help find somebody that can support them with a food box. Another thing that we can offer is if you have a large group of families that speak Spanish, we can offer training so they can learn how to find food, and they can do it for themselves. So that's another option too. I know that a lot of Latino families might not have a car, or might be afraid of going to a food pantry, or access to SNAP, or applying for SNAP. So we can definitely train them and share this information and have a conversation with them in Spanish, so they feel more comfortable, and we can answer those questions and build capacity instead of having to ask the food promotores to deliver food, but that's something that they can probably still do. So we have those two options.
Great, thank you. So our next canned question was, how is collaboration important for you to be able to meet your mission?
I mean, it's huge, you know, collaboration, I think, is everything. We are a small nonprofit. We recently grew a lot with COVID-19, which is not really something that we're happy about, but we're happy that we're growing. But in a way, we're sad because there's so much need for community health workers, for us to be working in the community right now, because of all the inequities that we're seeing in healthcare and economical disparities. So collaboration is everything, you know. In 2018, I started working at Familias and Accion, and all the work that I've been able to achieve has been with working with other organizations. We know that there's, you know, we're a small organization, and like doing a work statewide is all about figuring out who is doing this work, who cares about the community, who can make things change, who has those connections, who has the heart and the passion, because it's a lot of work, you know, it's a lot of work to ask another nonprofit, hey, can you support my work or my job here, and contact leaders and offer this training. That's time, and we don't have, you know, a lot of money, so it's not like we can pay them. And even if we could pay them, we have to recognize that when we're working with another organization, we're asking them for them to do something extra, that they're not necessarily in the same scope of work or in their program or in their plan, you know. So collaboration for us, I think, is fundamental, and we've been working with a lot of organizations lately. We're part of a lot of conversations where a lot of times we just have to hear and listen and learn, you know, like our work is really focused on health, but you know, my responsibility is to be learning about advocacy. We're learning about immigrant rights, learning about movements that are happening in the state, learning about other organizations that can support our work in a safe way, you know. So for me, like, the only way that I've been able to have this impact in doing my work is through collaborating with other nonprofits.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if it's the same for your side, but I think that COVID has kind of maybe made it more obvious that we have to work together in ways that we didn't have to before, because it is like all of our problems or all of our missions are, it feels like more related.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it's a little bit challenging, you know, because everybody's doing a little bit of different things, and it's like, how do we organize all this information, put it together, share it with the community? So even like putting that work into
Yeah,
practice is hard. So we're really thankful for, you know, everything that we've been able to achieve and get during COVID and before COVID. But I think like the most important thing is that people have the heart and they want to support the community.
for sure. Sort of bridges to the why was Portland Fruit Tree Project worth the amount of effort it takes to collaborate with each other?
Yeah, you know, as I mentioned, fruit is expensive. Fruit is expensive, and um, we don't always put that in the first thing of things that we're going to buy when we go to the store, just because of the price. So, you know, as a nutritionist, I know the value of fruit in our diets. Um, and we're working with a lot of families that have small children that, you know, deserve to have that experience of trying new foods, experimenting with food, cooking. I think all of those things are beautiful and are educational. And, you know, that's the way we learn and connect with nature and our roots. And, you know, like, there's just so many beautiful things that come from fresh fruit and vegetables. So I think that's why it's worth it. You know, the price of fruit is very expensive, and our families are super grateful that they're able to get fresh fruit, and they can also try new things.
Rachel has a couple of questions for you, one of which is in Spanish. So she's going to come off mute.
Hola, Rebeca. Quisiera preguntarte nomás en español porque creo que hay alguna gente aquí en la Aymara que quizás tengan algunas preguntas y si podrías hacer un pequeño resumen en español de los beneficios, los recursos que se hace Familias en Acción y cómo se puede tener acceso a esos recursos ahora mismo. Eso sería nos ayudaría mucho. Gracias.
Sí, claro que sí. Bueno, un pequeño resumen de lo que estamos haciendo en Familias en Acción. Tenemos un grupo de 16 promotores de alimentos que están ayudando ahorita a la comunidad latina a encontrar alimentos en el estado de Oregón. Entonces, nuestros promotores de alimentos están en 7 condados. Pueden encontrar un poquito más de información en nuestro sitio de internet, en familiasenaccion.org, para que vean en qué condados están estos promotores de alimentos. Pero algo que yo había mencionado es que con mucho gusto yo puedo dar un entrenamiento si ustedes tienen un grupo grande de unas 10 personas en español. Puedo dar un entrenamiento de cómo encontrar comida durante una pandemia. Entonces, este es un entrenamiento que empezamos a ofrecer al principio de la pandemia y hablamos acerca de cómo navegar, cómo encontrar una despensa de comida, cómo aplicar para SNAP, cómo aplicar para WIC y otros recursos que tal vez sean de beneficio para su comunidad. Entonces, podemos seguir en contacto y me pueden mandar un correo electrónico si tienen alguna pregunta. Mi correo es Rebeca con una C, @familiasenaccion.org. Lo puedo escribir en el chat al final de la plática. Y bueno, lo que hemos estado haciendo ahorita en especial con esta organización es que ellos nos han estado trayendo fruta fresca casi una vez por semana desde junio. Entonces nos han traído muchísima fruta y lo que yo estaba mencionando era que las familias están muy agradecidas porque sabemos que el costo de la fruta es muy cara. Y esto muchas veces para nuestra comunidad es una dificultad pagar fruta porque es orgánica, porque es más cara y sabemos que es muy nutritiva. Entonces, estamos muy agradecidos con este proyecto porque nos ha permitido llevar fruta fresca a la casa de las familias. Y nosotros trabajamos con familias latinas de bajos ingresos, familias que tienen enfermedades crónicas y también tenemos un equipo en Familias en Acción que trabajan directamente con familias que tienen lo que es el COVID-19 o que ya lo pasaron. Entonces tenemos recursos para apoyar a estas familias en especial.
Creo que la segunda pregunta era alrededor de las mascarillas y cubreboca. ¿Hay algún lugar en la ciudad donde se puede recibirlos? No sé si son gratis o si hay una manera de tener acceso a las mascarillas.
Nosotros hemos estado recibiendo algunas donaciones de la ciudad de Portland. Entonces, no, y gratis, pero últimamente han estado un poco bajos de recursos. Eso es como lo único que se me puede ocurrir ahorita, pero puedo mandar un correo e investigar y comunicarme con este grupo después si encuentro algún otro recurso de mascarillas.
Do we have any other question? Rachel, did that cover the question about the masks?
Just checking. Maybe Rebecca, could you do that the second, I'm sorry, to do it in both languages. Would you mind explaining about the relationship with the city and the masks again in English?
Yeah, of course. So we've been receiving some donations from the city of Portland. Mostly they've been more like hygiene products, but I think we can order some masks. We've been purchasing some with some extra funds that we've been receiving and giving them out to the community. But I will do some research and see if we can get an extra donation of masks because I think some folks in the call today were wondering about that.
And specifically the smoke, anything with a filter. It's so interesting that all of us have been preparing for masks for COVID, but now, are ineffective against this smoke. So I think that would be a really wonderful help if that's at all possible.
Yeah.
Did anybody else have any questions that they wanted to ask? Give a couple of seconds. Cool. Well, we did have a couple of little calls to action we wanted to end with in case anyone is so excited that they want to be able to do some things. I know I feel that way. The first one is that you are always, I'm going to find it in a second, and then I'm going to drop the link into the chat box for donating. Because of course, the more resources that are available, the more work we can all fund. So there is the link in the chat if anybody wants to donate. And then can you tell us a little bit about the blanket drive that you're doing?
Yes. So as I mentioned, we have a couple of food promotores in Umatilla County, and they work and collaborate a lot with a program that helps migrant families, and they are in huge need right now. Especially, as I mentioned, like we focus a lot on food, on nutrition, but they're like, well, we need blankets. We need blankets. Like, it's going to start getting cold. A lot of our families have lost their homes. Even before the fires, there was, this is like a bad soap opera or something. Before the fires, I think there was a lot of rain, and a lot of them lost their homes completely. So we wanted to take action, and I'm personally driving there on October 2nd. So I'm gonna take my car and possibly my coordinator's car, and she'll drive as well. And we're gonna bring mostly winter clothing, mostly blankets. I think that's what they've most told us that they need. These two food promotoras are serving around 75 to 100 families. So that's a lot of families. I'm not sure if we'll be able to fit all that clothes in our cars, but we'll figure it out. And if we need to bring another car, we'll get that too. So we're asking right now for jackets, jeans, hats, mittens, gloves, scarves, clothing for boys, or blankets. We received a little bit of money that we were able to just purchase new blankets. And so if any of you have time, like I personally went to Ross and Target the other day and bought like 30 of them, and it wasn't very expensive. So if you all are interested or have extras in your home that you were planning on giving away, that you don't need anymore, and they're in good conditions, and if you can just run them through the washer, we can receive donations until October 1st. Our plan right now is to drive there. We do not have an Amazon wish list. We'll get there someday. We're not crazy about technology. Right now, what we're doing is you can contact Alejandra, which is one of our coordinators, and she can figure out a day where you can drop things at our office. We're usually at the office every Wednesday. It used to be Fridays, but now it's going to be every Wednesday. So you can email her or contact her or email me, and we can figure out a date where it works for you, so you can bring whatever you have, and or just buy a couple blankets if you're capable of doing that, financially. I know that some folks might not be in this position, and that's totally understandable too. But yeah, right now we're getting some of these things that they need, and it's just a little help, as I mentioned, like when we connect with our food promotores, we learn that the needs are so high, and we can just do a little bit, but we know that this little bit will make a little difference in their lives. So we're trying to do our best to support our community.
Come October 1st, when you have a better sense of how much stuff you're looking at, we do have the truck for Portland Fruit Tree Project, so we can potentially load the truck and send it out too.
That's great. Yeah.
Why not, right?
Yeah, we can coordinate, and we can talk more about who can drive the truck. Maybe I can drive the truck.
Yeah, it's a very easy to drive truck.
Cool.
It's not like it's a stick shift or anything.
I can drive stick shift.
So Madeline has a quick question that she wanted to ask.
Yeah, I just had kind of a fun question. What other fruits have been like well received from the community? I know you said that the yellow plums were like really exciting, but was there any other fruits that people hadn't seen before or were like specifically pointed out?
Yeah, we were really excited about the Asian pears, the zucchinis, the different colors of zucchinis and cucumbers, you know, like just the variety, I can't say that word, but the different types of zucchinis and cucumbers, the Asian pears, the plums. I think those have been the ones that have been very, very popular.
Thank you.
That's pretty fun. So the zucchini and cucumbers were from our partnership with the Hollywood Senior Center's gleaning program. So between the group of us, we're managing to shuffle around a lot of produce.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any last minute questions? Otherwise, we'll let Rebecca get on with her evening.
Just thank you so much for being here. I've learned so much already, and I'll be reaching out soon. So really excited about everything y'all are doing. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you for hearing me for 45 minutes.
Oh, absolutely our pleasure. And thank you to everybody who spent their evening here with us this evening. I know everyone has lots to be doing and we're all sort of watching the haze and the murk. So having everyone here means the world. Lots of thank yous are popping up in the chat, Rebecca, if you are watching those. All right, Carrie, we can move to the next slide. So our next happy hour is going to be on October 21st. And we are going to be doing, it's going to be with Alder Commons, who we'll talk about in just a second. We're going to be making apple head dolls. So it'll be crafty and silly and really fun and Halloween-y. So be ready to come to that. So let's talk about Alder Commons for a minute. Rachel is the director of Alder Commons, who kindly allows us to use their Zoom, for which we are infinitely grateful. Rachel, will you just do a little plug for you?
Yeah, we are an all ages community learning center. We opened this past year and are really excited. We're at the corner of Northeast Prescott and 42nd. We have all sorts of programs that are all intergenerational, multicultural. Next week, we're hosting a workshop week. All classes all week long are free, open to everyone. And I'll pop the link in the chat, aldercommons.org. Couldn't be more excited to be partnering with Portland Fruit Tree Project and tonight with Familias and Accion. So thank you all.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, so that is everything. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.